Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. Today the Sunway Sitges International Tournament has just begun in Spain near Barcelona. This tournament is rapidly becoming a classic with both strong grandmasters and young prodigies from all over the world. In round 1 we already had an incredible upset. The young 12 years old Sreeshwan Maralakshitari from India with an head of 2200 and something was able to win against Vassily Ivanchuk the legend in 26 moves. So let's watch the game together. Sreeshwan opens with d4 and Ivanchuk replies with c5, the Benoni defense. d5, knight to f6, c4 and e6 attacking the most advanced pawn. Knight to c3, defending the pawn, e capture on d5, c capture on d5 and d6 with the classic Benoni structure. e4 now by white. g6, because of course with the pawn chain on the dark squares, the bishop must be developed in fianchetto. f4, at this point of the game this is the most played move, an aggressive variation called the pawn storm. Bishop to g7, bishop to b5 with check, knight in f goes to d7 is better than the other knight, and knight to f3. a6 now, hitting the bishop, and the bishop goes back to d3. b5, and castle for white. Castle for black, and the game is equal with both players that are playing very well the opening. King to h1, the most played move. So the king is out of this dark diagonal where one check can always come. Rook to e8. a3 to control the b4 square and to limit the activity of the black player on the queen side. And now c4, hitting the bishop retreats to c2 but remains on the important diagonal b1 h7. Knight to c5, a good move that improves the position of the knight and opens the right diagonal for the bishop. Knight to d4, this is almost a novelty because there is only one game in database with this position. Generally, the white players plays f5, hitting the black castle. But Sreeshwan doesn't like the knight to be pinned by the light square bishop, that in fact Ivanchuk develops on g4 with a beautiful deflection that gains a tempo. Why? Because the queen must capture but must also leave the protection of the knight on d4. And now Ivanchuk regains the piece. Bishop capture on d4. f5 now, attacking the castle, and knight in b goes to d7. The last minor piece comes into play. Now it's also time for white to develop his dark square bishop, and g5 seems the best square. But the young Indian prefers to open the f5 and capture on g6. This is a bit rushed. In fact, blacks become better now, after f recapture on g6. Now e5, very important moment in the game, because this pawn advance discover a queen attack on the bishop. And here comes Ivanchuk's mistake, because Ivanchuk plays a real natural logical move, that is bishop capture on e5 with the dark square bishop that keeps the control of this important diagonal. But there is a tactical problem. The problem is the bishop sacrifice on g6. Ivanchuk should protect g6 at all costs. Let's watch. After e5, now this bishop is under attack. The move to play is bishop capture on c3. He changing the bishop on the knight forces white to recapture. B recapture on c3, and now knight capture on e5 with the knight that adds the needed protection to the g6 square. But let's go back to the game. Now after bishop capture on e5, here comes the bishop sacrifice. Bishop capture on g6. Accepting the piece like Ivanchuk did in the game ends the game almost immediately. Better was to play rook to f8, now bishop to f7 with the double check, the king must move to h8, and bishop to h6 will win the equality. But after queen to e7, bishop capture in f8, and rook recapture in f8, of course white has a strong advantage and black a difficult position to defend, but maybe it was still possible for a player like Ivanchuk to fight for a draw. After h capture on g6, queen capture on g6 with check, and the bishop retreats to shield the king. Bishop to g7. Now queen to f7 with check, king to h8, and now an important move, queen to h5 with check. Sreeshwan is not interested in the check per se, but the queen on h5 will support bishop to g5, and the black queen must move away and can't help anymore. Let's watch. King to g8, bishop to g5 hitting the queen, and after queen to c8, queen to f7 with check, the king is forced to go back to the h5, and now the classical rook maneuver, rook to f4 to give checkmate on the h5, but here Ivanchuk resigns. What a loss for the great Ivanchuk, and I can't imagine how excited must be the young Sreeshwan after this victory. I hope that you enjoyed the game, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I will follow the Sunway Sitges, and this is only the first fireworks that we will see in this tournament, so stay with me. For now, thanks for watching and goodbye.